Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I've been thinking a lot about names recently. What names mean to us, what it means to name someone, what it means to refuse to give someone your name or to give them a name, how the power of names influences us on an incredibly subconscious kind of way. One of the more famous horrific names, I think, is when Hillary Clinton called a group of people who disagreed with her a basket of deplorables, not only showing a lack of respect for what people who thought very differently from her believed, but it also showed that she didn't hold the Jewish belief that every single person was made in God's image. And therefore, every single person had a sacred purpose to serve in this life. In the progressive world right now, there's a lot of conversation about, do we call someone anti-racist? Do we call them racist? Are we all potentially racist? Are all Caucasian Americans automatically racist? What is an anti-racist, and do I want to be one? When I was a child, I remember long discussions in the synagogue about, were we Jewish Americans or American Jews? Truly, is a rose by any other name really a rose? Or if we call it a thorny plant or a prickly plant, if you prefer, does it turn into something different than something sweet you want to smell? One of the themes in today's Torah portion, as you can guess, by Yishlach, is all about naming someone and some places. Who is doing the naming, how they pick the name, even who refuses to name, has something to teach us about the power of naming. Now, I know we're in the third triennial, and we try to do a drash that's connected to the triennial we read. But today's Torah portion, this idea, this theme of names, goes through the whole Torah portion. It exists in our third triennial, but it also exists in the first and second triennial. So forgive me as I show you the power of naming in the Torah and in our particular Torah portion by looking at the whole Torah portion today. And I want to begin at the beginning with 32:29, where Jacob and the, God, angel of God, Jacob's alter ego, you can decide that. That's a discussion for another time. But this entity wrestles with Jacob. And at the very end of this wrestling match, Jacob is told his name is no longer Jacob, which literally means heel, like the heel of a foot, but rather Yisrael, which means wrestling with God, because Jacob wrestled with God and won. His name reflects his maturity and growth, ability to stand on his own 2 feet rather than chasing his brother's foot. And is telling to me as Jacob's name changes, it is also telling to me that the entity wrestling with Jacob refused when Jacob asked to tell Jacob his or her name. There is a power given over to someone when they can identify who we are. That power, the angel of God wanted to hold on to him or herself in 32:30. People are not only named during this time, there are also 4 places in our Torah portion named. In 32:31, the name of the place where Jacob wrestled with this angel of God was called Peniel. In 33:20, Jacob named the place where he resided after meeting up with Esau and settling that encounter peacefully, El Elohe Yisrael. 35:8, the name of the tree where Rebecca's nurse was buried was called Elon Bachut. 35:15, the name of the place, the city, is called Beit El. Each name reflects what happened there. It will be forever known by this one moment in time, regardless of anything else before or since that has happened there. The face of God, where Israel wrestled with God. God is God of Israel, the place where Jacob lived peacefully after making peace with Esau. Tree of crying, where Rebecca's nurse was buried. House of God, the place where Jacob dreamed of seeing angels go up and down the ladder to God. Each name holding on to the essence of what happened there forever. And then finally, the disagreement between Rachel and Jacob about the role of their youngest son in their lives. In Rachel's case, it is the son of her grief. It is the son, the birth of her son, that killed her. the son of her grief. In Jacob's case, it is his right-hand man, the little baby that he holds on to because he reminds him of the woman he lost. One little baby fulfilling two different roles in his parents' life, but encapsulated in the name he never got or the name he kept. Most of the time, we ask people before they get an Aliyah, what is their Hebrew name? But really, we should be asking everyone, what is their Jewish name? For many of us from the Ashkenazic world, our Jewish name is actually Yiddish. For those who are Sephardi, many of them have Ladino names. Our Jewish names reflects the world we came from or the world we're trying to get back to. Names matter. I don't know how many of you got to name your kids. We didn't, or at least not their English names. But for those of you who do get to name your kids, was it easy? Did it cause stress or disagreement? Looking back, what does that name represent to you? Or those of you with nicknames, what do the nicknames represent? What happens when we outgrow our nicknames, but it's what we've been called all our life? For example, Rodney right now at 5'9" is a lot of things, but a little peanut just isn't one of them anymore. And yet every once in a while, when Elise still calls him Little Peanut, a huge smile breaks out on his face. So what that name means to him, something more than a description of who he used to be. So my question for you is, what is your name? Your English name, your Jewish name? What did it mean to the person who gave it to you? Did you pick it yourself? Why? And what does it mean to you now? Shabbat Shalom, everybody.